Hey, Happy New Year! I hope that you guys had a very fun New Year's Eve. We went out, so I missed all the live streams when they were live, but lucky me, I can catch up by watching them recorded. Thanks so much to CB, Janet, and Teresa for the Christmas cards. I received them 4 days after Christmas because our Danish mail are so slow. But it warmed my heart. I was really happy, so thank you so much. A tradition for my YouTube channel every New Year's Eve is to, the day after cleaning out my channel and starting on a fresh, I get a little bit uncomfortable about leaving too big a digital footprint out there in the void. So I have yeah, it's just I just like starting with a fresh channel, you know. I ramble and babble a lot, and I don't always remember what I've been saying and stuff of private things. So that's why for me it's good to know that I only got like 12 months on my YouTube channel. So but this year, the last 10 days of December, I actually achieved 5 new subscribers. And I know for many channels 5 new subscribers is not a lot, but I don't have many subscribers, so 5 new is like really big for me. Thank you guys for subscribing if you're one of them listening right now. So I was thinking, oh man, I ought to let those people have a chance to get to know me better by having the opportunity to watch my old videos. So I'm leaving up my videos for now, but I have to admit that I did browse around in them and see if I could harvest out some of them that I thought was just like rambling, you know. And then I noticed that on those videos that I definitely would pick, because it was like real life art, long video. I mean, how fun is it to watch me sit and paint, right? But then I began reading the comments, and the comments on those videos were like a handful of people saying like, thank you so much for talking so much and telling us your thought process while you're painting. They enjoyed it, and it really, like, I was so happy. I was like, oh really, there's someone out there who enjoy watching me sit and analyze my own thought process while I'm painting. So I was thinking that because I'm so grateful for people like that exists, because it's really a nice hobby for me. So I'm just getting spellbound that other people are finding it captivating. So I thought I want to sit down and paint a watercolor painting and then take you guys with me on every step on my way. Like what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, in what direction I want to push the paint, everything. I mean, so I've made this painting, and it's like an abstract. I'm imagining that this is the sky. We got a mountain in the background. We got some forest here, a hillside, some boulders, and then a fog coming from the forest with trees peeking up. So yeah, it's been a fun thing for me to paint this painting, because I learned a new technique. I tried to make this upload as informative as possible, even though it sounds like I'm rambling. So I hope you enjoy watching it, and left for me to say is just I wish you a happy new year. So thank you. Okay, I think I got an idea. There is a watercolorist called Cindy Barron. I'm just gonna write her name. Because, you know, kind of butchering people's names. But Cindy Barron got a very interesting style of watercoloring. What she does is that she work with washes, so she kind of very rarely touch her paper with the actual brush, but she's slapping on the pigment, using the paper to twirl it around, let it dry, and then work in layers like that. And it's very time consuming, so it's perfect for an upload and not a live stream, because the drawing has to dry in between all the layers. And she likes to paint the nature. I think I want to give it a try. What to say about what I'm going to end up with is that I will try and make, because it's the first time I try this style, I'll try and make like an evergreen tree that's very saturated in pigment because it's standing in the front of the drawing. And then I want to make, like she does, a hillside, so that this area here is going to be mostly white if it's possible. But it is difficult to keep it totally blank and uncolored because you are swirling the paint around in these twisting motions on the paper. But I will try and keep this unpainted. Then having the first wash to be like a Prussian blue going up here somehow, so it kind of simulate like a foggy forest or a mountainscape, and then coming on with strong tones like yellow, red, purple for the next wash, and then with my brush try and twirl up the pigment, looking into the peaks of the evergreen trees. And then on the third wash, yes, this is a long one, you introduce the green hues down here, trying to make it darker, so you have like dark values here. And then the fourth and final wash will be where you actually paint with your brush, where you kind of put in all the details that make this puddle of pigment become a tree. I think it would be fun to try out, because I watched the style of painting and it really intrigues me the way that she's adding pigments. So far I can understand that she's slapping them on, like she's taking a wet brush. Oh, this water looks like really dirty, but it's just the bottom of the jar that's dirty. So it's not like I'm painting with black water. It's just the way the water looks. She's taking pigments on a brush and then slapping it on like this in the directions that she wants. And in her case, where she wants like trees that go up like is it called vertically? She will help the strokes with a brush. Oh man, I'm really bad at explaining. But basically you get a lot of action going on, in my opinion, because you're adding colors by going in parallel splashes that all have the direction pointing your eyes towards the center of the paper, and then you're refining things with your brush strokes. So it becomes like a very how can I explain it, like fresh looking, because you don't have actual brush strokes in the background. So I really like her style. So let's give it a try, and I will set up a piece of watercolor paper. And because this is the first time I'm gonna try out her technique, I think I'll just paint on the back side of this horrible whiskey influenced New Year's Eve painting. I don't like it at all. I'm gonna flip it around, taper it down to this. It's just something from a, what's it called? I can't even talk today. You know, it's just a place that I can tape on a sheet of paper. And I'm picking up a really big sheet because I think big sheets camouflage errors the most when it comes to wet and wet washes. So there is a lot of areas for the pigments to wander into and feather out into. So the bigger, in my case, the better. So let's practice this together, and hopefully I will come back in the future with something that I really made seriously. You know, like something that I really, when I tried it a couple of times and learned a little bit, get more skilled at it, I can show some better things that I predict we're gonna make now. So let me just set it up. Okay, I taped my paper to the chipboard, and the reason why I need a chipboard is because I have to be able to move it back and forth in the air to make the pigment run. I'm covering up my laptop with this plastic cutting mat so I don't totally destroy my computer, and it gives me a tiny raised angle here, so when I rest my plate I will have hopefully a tiny hill for the water to run down at. The reason why I think I need a tiny hill is because I need to make tops of evergreen trees. So as you can imagine, I'm not that much interested in drips hitting the skyline up here. I have in front of me a blunt Derwent graphitined steel blue pencil. The reason why I want it to be blunt is because I don't want to make imprints while I'm sketching, because paint will soak into, if you push your pencil lines into the paper, paint will find that valley to rest in, and then you can just see it. This is water soluble, which helps me if when you're letting the pigments paint your painting, it's very unpredictable. So I think it's great to have a water soluble sketch pencil so that you at least can erase out some lines that didn't become a tree anyway. So what I'm going to do is to just give myself some guidelines very loosely. I want a hillside here where hopefully not much pigment will land here. I want some sort of a tree line here, and I don't mind that it becomes like a hillside of something in the background. And around here I would love for these evergreen tree tops to emerge. So I'm just sketching in the lines. I don't know if these lines are going to be visible in the finished piece, but if they do, I want them to look as ghostly as possible. So that's why my sketch lines is going to be very, like, you know, not done really with a ton of details. Hopefully most of these lines will be dissolved totally with the water and disappear. But now I sort of have a guidance. Can you see how I got like a guidance of where, if the paint run into this, I should immediately tip the paper the other directions because it's hitting my guidelines, and the same with the top up here. So yes, this is going to be really, really fun. To speed things up, I don't think that she starts on a dry sheet of paper. I can't imagine, because we're talking like really wet and wet washes. To speed things up, I'm gonna wet my whole page and then avoid wetting in that hillside that I want to keep white. And then also avoid putting water so much up in the skyline. Oh man, this is going to be so fun to make. I need some pigments in the skyline. I can't like just ignore it, so I'm just gonna wet it halfway up. Okay, I got this, it's a really good splatter brush. I don't know what's the real name of it. It's like a Japanese calligraphy brush, but it's awesome to make splatters with. So with that in my hand, and let me arrange so that you guys can see my palette. Hang on. Okay. I just rearranged stuff a little bit. Okay, exciting. I think I'm going to start out with the like a blue, a little bit colder than an ultramarine. Not like totally Prussian blue, but a little bit colder than ultramarine at least. Oh man. And then simply go in like she does with splatters, trying to aim for this direction here. Okay, I can see that I need to put up a plate to my wall because otherwise I will splatter on my wall. Okay. Now I put on a big chipboard on that side of the wall so that I won't be having splatters on my wall. Oh yes, this is like really therapeutic. Just slapping on pigments. I'm not afraid of the saturation of the pigments because I know that they will dry up lighter. I'm more interested in getting those kind of splashed, and so far I'm more interested in just getting a lot of liquid on the paper so that I can start moving things around. I want to introduce some purple tone, so I think I will start up with a violet because it's a less of a lighter hue than the dioxazine purple. So I get like a bluish violet background. And then I actually think that I will get in some sepia because blue and sepia just gives a very interesting, you could say, dark color. I just want something to mix with the blue and the violet, so it's kind of get a little bit dirty. And now for the fun part is to just let it move on this paper. Because I moistened and wet part of the sheet, it would love to run that way. Can you see how I need more liquid up here to make it move? But already now, can you see how it's just by itself painting a very soft and foggy background? It could be like a mountain, like the shape of some mountains far away in the distance. Yeah, you need a lot of imaginations to do this. So let me go in with I'm thinking a little bit of green mixed with the turquoise. I'm painting with M gram watercolors. I should, if I was clever, have picked up core, right? If I want something to move. But I didn't. I took my M-gram palette because it's got a huge mixing tray. I think I want to spray this area. It's gonna help me with getting it mixed. Right now I'm thinking about coverage, like how much did she actually cover on her first wash? Was it like a full coverage of this page right here? Because if it was, then I really need to get a lot more liquid going on. As you can see, I'm dripping pigments off my sheet down to my table, and I'm not worried at all about that. You may think that, oh, that's a waste of good paint, but since we're doing such a watery wash, I can assure you that most of the things that's dripping off is not like pure pigment. It's diluted paint, so it may seem like you're wasting a lot of pigment when you do things like these, but seriously, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's nothing to worry about. The reason why I have this angle is because I have had luck painting mountains by picking up an angle like a hillside, and then it just turned out to be a likable composition for a mountain. So that's actually why I'm trying to get that angle in. Okay, now I think that I should try and go for coverage down here. It's going to be covered up with really dark pigments anyway, so I think I can actually just use the brush to disperse the paint. Because since this is going in my imagination to be a dark area, I wouldn't mind that the darkness is a build-up of a lot of different colors. Can you see how the teal is, let me point with the brush. Can you see this area right here? Very interesting to see how the teal of the M-gram is, could it be granulation? Could it be called granulation? I think so. It's very likable. So looking at that, I just want to add more teal for that reason. These streaks that comes, to me it's beauty, and it's those striations that's gonna bring it to be like a freshly painted look, full of energy. So to get them, I knock like this and it helps me get loose of that excess water, so hopefully it will dry up faster. I am going to let it dry up by itself because I don't know, I think sometimes pigments behave differently when you let it dry by itself compared to when you try to push it with a heat gun and force it to dry up. At current moment, I can only vaguely sense my sketch lines of the trees, but it's still helpful line work. And I did use the line work to stop on my sketch lines. That is not a sketch line, that's a stray of drippage. So that's what I'm going to do, like letting it dry in this angle where it's a little bit raised from the keyboard on my laptop, so I can trust that no pigments will contaminate my sky, and it will go this way. So yeah, let's let it dry up. So it's somewhat dried up. I totally would recommend that you leave it overnight when you're doing layer and layer, because when it's like semi, I won't say moist, but it's not completely dried up. And the reason why I know that it's not completely dried up is because completely dried up, it's like the day after, and then you're most likely not to lift up what you already put down. But I am out of patience. So I want to continue, but I want to show you what I got so far. So far I got that hillside. It's very blurry. I got a little bit build up here, so in my imagination I should let the pigments decide that right here is going to be like a natural curve of a mountain. And then I do have a visual direction of the paint going parallel with my hillside here. So far I like the placement. And if you are trying this at home and you think, oh, I got nothing, please don't despair, because this is only the first layer, okay? So just work with what you have. Don't give up. Now I'm gonna be crazy, because this is a tester for me. This is the first time I'm trying this technique, so I have to do something really crazy to see if it works, because otherwise I will do it as a mistake on a piece that I really like. I'm gonna bring in some crazy colors like red, yellow, because I want to see how it looks. And I take the Quin Rose, because the Quin Rose for me is still like a cool cool red, so I think that it will complement the violet and not purple that I got here, because the violet is also built up of cool reds with a blue. So let me do like a watery wash of the Quin Red right here. I think I want to prep my palette with the pigments that I want to put in, so that I don't mix the pigments on the palette and put it on the paper, but I kind of got puddles that I slap on the paper and then let the paper mix the colors. I need to put something yellow that will go well with the Quin, and I have to jump to the Quin Gold. I like quinacridone gold for several reasons. One of them is that it brings out some warmth into a natural landscape, like evergreen trees, because in my imagination, and I might be wrong because I know nothing about nature, but evergreens is like a very bright green. It's not like a hooker's green. So I would like to have like a yellowish warm undertone behind my trees, and then I can use like the sap green to as a third layer, and then introduce a dark hooker's green if I want to. But by having that yellow in the background, I got some warmth to build on. But the bad thing about yellow is that it takes over. I mean, when I use quinacridone gold, I just get too enthusiastic, so the yellow tends to take over my painting sometimes. So now I need to just try and imagine that I got CB on my left side yelling stop. So let's stop right there and then go to the reddish color. crazy thing here. Let's see if I can get away with an orange hue. That would be so, so lovely to have like something orange. I think I'm gonna go with an Indian yellow. Indian yellow is a warm color, so when it comes next to the cooler Queen Rose, it may get a little bit muddy. I'll take the chance. It is nature, so brownish foliage tones are welcomed. Okay, before I splash this with water, I have to say I fell in love with that teal. So because I fell in love with the teal, I want to add in a very granulating teal from Schminke. I think if you paint only with granulating paint, the painting becomes a different style to look at, you know. But if you just add your granulating paint deliberately on a certain area to get a certain effect, you will have a place where it shines. And I'm saying that because I have tried to make paintings where I used the most granular paints that I have in my box, trying to put it on top of other granular paints, you know, to get like a really funky look of it, but I think it just drowned. Then everything just becomes this granulation thing. So I like to use granulation as an add-on, as an extra oomph, an extra wow, if it can be explained like that. A little bit more on, I got lots of the purple on this side. I know the camera doesn't really pick it up, but now I'm gonna put it next to the teal from Schminke. And now for the fun part. I'm gonna wet it all, and then I'm gonna see if I can make the painting just travel. And I need a lot of water to do so. Of course, a part of me is hoping that I could do it with less water, because first of all, my finger don't like to pump that stupid water pump, and it you know, isn't that long to dry up if you can use less water. But unfortunately you kind of need water to do this drill here. So to help it along, I'm just gonna, with a clean brush, make the areas of the paper wet where I want the paint to travel to, because as we all know, watercolor travels easier to where it's wet. So to avoid getting too many runny streaks, I'm just gonna guide it like this. Not sure that Cindy Barron is doing it like this, but I'm doing it like this. So artistic freedom, right? Okay, before it dries up, I really would like to illustrate this area right here. Can you see how the pigments are mixing on the paper? Like how could I paint this area right here with brush strokes? Not sure that I would be able to. So that's going to be the build-up that I'm talking about. Let me get rid of these splats here, because I don't like having splats of Queen Gold in the that way it's showing up there. What drew my attention to this painting style is the end result of the slope hill down here. I really like when watercolor paintings have some areas where the white of the page is showing itself, because it kind of underlined that we are talking about a watercolor painting. You know, like like it for me, it just is a classic way of showing that you're painting with a media that's watercolor, because you have these blurred out blending to the white of the paper. Because in a lot of other medias, you don't use that visual effects. It's very rare that you see an oil painting where a corner of the canvas is just the primed canvas. It's usually a full cover. When you're working with oils, you're covering up the whole canvas. But with watercolor, I think it's just the charm of it that you can, and that's also why I am focused on the illustration art style, you know, where illustrators are doing the same when they're using watercolors, letting their focal point just bleed out to the edge of the paper and leaving something uncovered. Okay, now comes the difficult task for me to get this on film, because I see it very clear, but the camera probably don't pick it up. Where to start? Can you see areas like these? Can I even see with my fingers? Areas like this is becoming really interesting. Looking like, in my imagination, foliage. I like that build up that's happening right there. And I love how the Quin Gold managed to spread out like a glaze, so it's kind of warming up the tones, but also appears in dots, tiny splattered dots, like I don't know, a lack of words to describe it. But what I'm seeing here is a very dynamic starting point for a background for a forest. That's the best way I can explain it. And it's unique because I cannot replicate this. So let's give this a chance to dry up, and I actually think that I'm gonna cheat a little bit, letting it dry as much as my patient can tolerate, and then come in with a heat gun so I can make a third layer, because now I am bitten by the bug. Now I want to do more. I think the only way to calm me down right now was if I actually open up a second sheet, so I had like 5 sheets of these to work on at once, because then I would quiet down that inner painting freak who just don't want to stop now and walk away. But now I'll go away, make some tea, let it dry up as much as my patients tolerate, hit it with a heat gun, and be totally like a little kid watching the sheet to be ready to receive the third coat. Okay, so it dried up, and as you can see, it dries up really lighter. So don't be afraid to smash on some pigments to it. I think it's a very nice neutral. It can go a lot of ways. It can still be a hillside that's in the summer being hit by the first sunrise, because I got like these golden tones, yellow tones in it. So it's ready to receive like a apple green foliage buildup. Or you can also twist it towards another season, like fall, which I think I would like to try with some red tones. And the reason is because it would be easy for me to just do like green on top of it and then mark in the trees, and then we got the forest, right? But I know that I would love to see can I turn this into like a fall and give myself an excuse to roll out the maroon, right? So I did a little tester on my palette here, and I backed the maroon red up with a quin violet to get like more life into the maroon, like a switch, so it doesn't just become red. And then I try and test which kind of yellow I should add to that to bring out some brown, warm orange tones. And it turns out that the iron oxide from M. Graham in conjunction with the maroon and the quin violet gives me those fall vibes that I would like. Because I am anxious to get started, I think I would like to wet the page. If I was doing this like really seriously, I would definitely let this dry up during the night, so it was like crisp, bone dry. But I am learning here, so this is like my learning piece of paper. So I am definitely going to do something that you probably will not see the original artist Cindy Barron do or recommend even, which is to go on top of this so soon with this kind of coat that I'm planning on. Now I want to go in like really with a lot of pigments, because I want like fireworks to happen, because autumn is all about fireworks with the colors. I should like not talk while I'm doing these things. I should just feel and paint. I'm washing off my brush in between the coats. I'm running a little bit low on the quin violet, so I'm keeping my brush in the pan right here. Why quin? Because I think it's a good partner to maroon for some reason. I've always had likable results when I have mixed the very dark maroon with the brighter quin violet. I'm washing off my brush and dipping into the iron oxide. I don't know if it's just my pan, but I need to let it work a little bit before it lifts off. Mass tone. I think it's ready now. Did I mention how fun and therapeutic it is to just slap things on? I like it. Okay, let's let it dance. Oh my god, it's so beautiful. Can you see an area like this where the paper is not wet? I'm gonna wet it up with the tip of my brush, because if I ignored that area, it will create like a hard edge, and I don't think that hard edges is what I'm aiming for in this painting. Oh my god, it's so beautiful. I need to dab off some of the water. I think I'm gonna have like a towel ready down here to grab, because now I would like the pigments to go like this way. Can you see how I got this area up here once again with dry paper? If I missed it, I can help getting away from the hard edge. This is so likable. Oh my god, can you see how I got more white? Should it be the brush or the mister? I think I'm gonna use the brush. But that's basically the only thing that I'm looking after at this moment, is to catch those dry spots. We could call them dry spots. I'm taking a moist brush to soften up the edge to the hillside. Totally trusting that I can come back with green and shape the hillside. I just don't want like a hot edge. So okay, let me dry up this table here. And as you can see, it's not that bad with the mess. It's not like you know, there's like a swimming pool of water underneath my work surface here. I hope the camera picks up this very celestial dance that's happening on the paper with the pigments. I'm having some dark tones, which I think is really likable to build on top of with an autumnal vibe. And then I still have retained the mountain area up here where you get like a cloudy hint of a mountain. And I still have retained the yellow Quin Gold application up here in the top, where I would like it to be left because that's where the sun would hit the first. And then I have managed to get this warm, almost like Quin Rust down here. So yeah, I would let this dry, and then next time I come back, I think I should ponder about adding some green to this. And then after the green, I need to come in with some darker values, because it's all about the light and the dark, right? But I can first see where I want the dark after the mid-tone, which is supposed to be the green, I think is going to land. Yes. The reason for not adding green now, I should say, is because I'm a chicken. Red is the complementary to green, so it will take over and make more earth tones than I would prefer, because I want to keep that red maroon in there. Okay, let's let it dry. So it's dry. I put my hand on it and it doesn't feel cold, so it's as dry as I got patience for, because now I have to put on the green. I think my green will be like a 3 wash, like first an under wash, then secondly trying to get in the shape of the trees in the background, and then third would be like a detail where you actually paint with a brush, you know, a tiny brush. Remember I said the thing about using granulation as an add-on? I think it would be a very good time to apply some very granular paint right now, because on layer 2 it will be cover up partially. So yeah. I'm once again going in with the big flat brush to cover up as much as I think I need, because this time when we are adding granulation qualities, is it called that? Paint with granular characteristic, it kind of folds itself out better on a very wet wash. So Yeah, I'm kind of stumbling because I can see that the red is peeling off, which is making me a little bit nervous because now I'm definitely going to make mud. I'm wondering why the red is peeling off. I think it's a drying issue thing that I didn't wait that whole night that I'm talking about. I don't usually see so much paint being dissolved when I work wet and wet. Okay. I just I'm enjoying the process, so I don't really feel like talking. Oh, this is going to be so yummy. It really is. I should get some blue violet down here. Where is the blue violet? It must be this one up here, maybe. This is where your intuition kicks in, by the way. Where, for some oddball reason, you just know what you want, right? Like the way you maneuver with your what you pick in your palette. So I don't really know what to say other than I'm just watching, and then I'm thinking about values. I would like some dark right here, so I'm gonna be brave and then add that in right now. I can go like blue or real like black, because I'm not afraid of the saturated dark pigments, because I know it's gonna dry up really lighter than it looks. So let me just take an indigo so that the green will mix with the indigo here in the forest ground down here. I can't speak. I can't speak. I'm enjoying this a lot. Okay. I will not aim to lose the gold, queen gold up here, so I need to put in a little bit more of the queen gold to retain that look up there. Okay, here we go. I was in doubt whether I had too much water on it this time, you know, but I really would love to have this dance that's going on. Oh my god, I am enjoying this so much. Now I have decisions to make about this hillside here. I'm gonna tissue here. Now I'm flipping it upside down because let me just flip it right back. Can you see how I'm getting like treetops up here by letting it drip upwards Can you kind of tell how it's creating trees? But don't let them get too high. I think I would like to stop the tree trunks right at that level there, because if you get them too high, you can't. It's a little bit difficult to take it back. You can always add more height to your tree tops than you can subtract. I really would prefer a little bit more there. So I think this is where you actually paint with your brush, when you're telling the pigments to come in with more trees. This is going to dry up really blurry. So it doesn't matter that what you actually are doing. It's just going to be a secondary layer of trees in the background. So you can't really make any mistakes at this point. Okay, now I got this. I have to say that I love watercolor in the wet state like this, where all the pigments are so saturated and just looking very appealing, and then it dries up looking a little bit flat and dull, you know. But I'm getting that granulating effect here that's really likable. So now I'm gonna put it down, and I'm gonna put it like this, so that when it dries up naturally, hopefully it will keep the pigments pointing upwards. Like this. Okay, let's let this dry, and maybe now you can see some sort of, when we talk about application, that I tried to put the quin gold up here to get like a light foliage that's lit up by the sun, and it's very difficult for the sun to shine on the bottom of the tree, so that's why it's darker down here. So that's the only kind of thought that I'm having in this application. My problem right now is that I can see puddles of water forming in the center of the page. I don't really like that. So I think I'm just gonna be patient and sit here and move the pigment back and forth until it will stop for gathering in the center of my painting. Because when paper is as wet as this, there will be like hills and valleys, and then the top of the hill will not receive as much pigments as the bottom of the hill, if it makes any sense. So the fine task, I believe, is to try and avoid getting that pattern of bulky paper that's dried up in like a hill and top formation, which is happening right here. I think it's very visible on the screen also that I got pigments gliding off the peak of this bulk here into a valley. The way to get away from that is to go in with a mister like this and mist it, but I don't want to add more water to this page. So I'm simply just being patient and holding it in an angle so that I allow the pigment to run sideways so that it hopefully will avoid landing into that valley of the hill. And then I think I should be very careful with the edge that's forming down here. Of course I don't want like a hard edge, but I don't want a blurry edge either. So I'm just gonna dab it off with a tissue. Now I can tell that it's not moving as much. So now I'm confident to place it back down here. Okay, let's let it dry. Okay, it's drying up. So now yet another exciting moment is that application of the green. I'm thinking I will go in first with a mid-tone green. So it's not going to be like a yellow apple green, you know, like a really fresh one. It's going to be something that's a little bit like a sap green, you could call it. And then I'm thinking that my trees should, the ones that I'm focusing on now, their level should be below this, because if I go in with covering this, I will not have like this foggy background. So if I could say that this is far furthest away, this is mid far away, and now comes the kind of close-up of the trees. So I will try and not get too carried away and just stay in this area here. Still following the application techniques where you don't touch the paper with your brush, but basically splatter it on. And of course I need more colors to play with than just this green. So now I'm sitting here thinking like a crazy beast, like what to do. Should I try and add like a darker hooker's green down here? Let's see what happens when we do that. And I really would love to have some dark tones down here, so I'm just simply gonna put in some black, but the dark, I want to pick a granular dark, so I'm aiming for Glacier from Schmincke's granulating paint, the one called Black in that Glacier range of colors. Putting in some of that, and then it also got this very indigo, that's a nice transition between black and hooker's green, the indigo, I think, in my opinion. Let's see if there's like any fun green. There is this green one up here that would be nice to try. This green is a little bit different in color, and I think it's okay because trees in nature have like different shades of green depending on what sort it is. So I would love to be sparingly using liquid, because something inside me tells me that I should have a not so liquid application on this one. Like, then the pigments will be more saturated in a way. What's going on in my mind right now is that I'm trying to balance this around the sheet to see if I get something interesting. I think it lacks contrast. It lacks dark tones. So more dark. And then for up here, let me try an azo yellow green. It's a little bit lighter than the mid-tone green. Okay, now we got wet paper, so now I can twirl the pigments around. One of the nice properties of the granulating paint is that it will sink down to the paper first, because it's grinded differently, so there are some heavier pigments in that paper, so that's why you see that it's landing there. That's the granular sminke paint. So yeah, here I am reluctant to take a brush and remove these, what we call the dry spots, because in foliage and bushes there are actually these gaps. So I'm simply just gonna leave them as randomly as they appear. So it's a little bit like when you're quilting, you hope and sew, you know. You sew and hope for the best. The same with this, right? What's going on right here, that I'm leaving the gaps as they are and hoping that it's a decision that was okay to take. For me now comes the difficult part. I needed to have peaks like we had on our previous wash, these tree peaks, right? Tree tops. So let me first try and see what will be created by itself. And I don't want it to go past this area up here. So what do I do? Oh, I don't like doing this, but I think I will try and sketch them in. If you notice, this is like the first time I'm actually with my hand is painting. You know, I am using brush strokes for one of the first times. I even think that I should mix up the colors. Let's say I dislike some of the strokes, I can always mist it, you know, go like this, and then it will feather out. But that's, you know, what, you know, it's when to say when it looks wrong. It's like really difficult. So it's still just got this kind of abstract vibe about it. I think it's a little bit clumsy, that tree over there. So to break up that clumsiness, I'm just gonna paint more trees. Oh man, I wish that the green would stay this saturated, but it will dry up much duller. But wouldn't it be awesome if I could keep that dark saturation? I would love it. I got this brush that got this pointy acrylic end on it, and I was thinking that I could carve in some of the boulders if I wanted to, you know, like I think Lindsay the Frugal Crafter has shown us multiple times how she with success can do it. I'm not that good of a stone carver as she is, so right now I'm just gonna wing it, you know, like put in maybe some blue also, and then hoping that I will be able to at least leave some marks. That could be a very nice transition from the woods to this hillside, that it was done with boulders. But the difficult part for me is to make it look like something nature did and not me with a tool. And here I also got some I'm going to have hard edges that I am deciding to accept and leave, because yeah, sometimes you just have to let the painting decide where it's gonna be. Here I almost got a perfect triangle, and I think it's too perfect for nature, so I'm gonna break it up. You know, I don't like too many man looking shapes. I like that striation. I know it's not gonna dry up like that. That's a shame. But as much as I can preserve it, I will fight for it. But oh my god, look at it in this wet condition. Oops, sorry, I got the hiccups. Just look at it in this wet condition. I mean, isn't it just awesome? It's been a pleasure to paint this. And that's so fun about watercolor. It's so alive, you know. And then it dries up. Like I said, I always get super disappointed when I leave it and then come back and watch the dry state of it, because it's pushed back dull. I wish that someone would invent some sort of glazing spray, but since there is no such thing, I think that I will consider giving this a coat of warm beeswax on top of it when it's done, so I can bring back some of the luminous pigments when it's wet. I have a very strange edge down here that I am kind of working with a little bit. There. Yeah, hopefully it will dry up nicely. Let's just walk away from it and see how it looks when it's dried up. Oh wow, it dried up, and if I was on a live stream, this is where I would end the painting session, because from now on I will only either overwork it or simply just wreck it. But since we are working on a practice sheet, I dare to take the next step. And the next step is adding in some dark trees to stand in the foreground of the painting. And I will not like paint the tree trunk starting from below and going up. I would, I think, make it come from here and then just emerging from the from the forest. Well, the reason why I am continuing painting on this painting right now and don't feel so confident about it is because this is where you have to be very detailed with your strokes. This is where, you know, all of those who are really trained in doing detailed work can roll out their skills. And I tend to muck it up when I try to get detailed on a level like this. And the way I'm going to approach this is going to be a mix of lifting and adding colors. I'm going first to add some of the green branches of the evergreen trees, and then later on I'm gonna lift off where I think that sunlight should hit the top branches, and then add in, maybe it's gonna be like a quin gold to that. And I'm feeling very insecure at this step right here, because yeah, well, like I said, this is really where I am mucking things up, because you have to be like really patient and leave the painting, come back the next day, view it with fresh eyes, and once again see the whole you could say like the whole picture in front of you again. Because it's never a good idea to do what I have done today with sitting down in almost like one sitting and making this kind of watercolor painting. But I'm viewing this as a practice piece before I start. I want to say a production, because I can so much see myself taking 5 sheets, yes 5, and then just working on those 5 in one go, you know. If the Hooker's green is too light for you still, you can darken it up with a Prussian blue to hit some random branches that kind of need more value. I'm looking at all this area down here where nothing is like really defined, and thinking that maybe I can add in some tops of trees to make it look like a whole forest is emerging. Don't really know what else to say. But maybe you can kind of figure out that this is like a fiddling work, you know? Like, you have to slowly build up all the details. I think this is why I don't do it on live streams, because I feel that, oh, it must be so tedious and boring to watch. I often just end too premature on my live stream paintings because I kind of feel that I kept you guys too long. Okay, now we can count. If this is a cluster of 1, 2, 3, I want like an uneven number. It could be perfect if I could end up with 5. So if I take like one more peek up here, maybe. I really think that the whole process has been quite fun, and it's like the process itself that has been very rewarding for me to try. As soon as this is dried up, I'm not sure if I still am so attached to the painting. I know it sounds crazy, but it's like then I tried it, you know, so I don't feel like thinking more about it. On the boulders, I want to lift off some paint and add in some more colors. Colors like ochre and maybe burnt sienna. And could be like a paint gray also. Just to get them a little bit more defined. And this carving process is like totally random. It's not like I have some sort of recipe of how I'm moving back and forth. I think maybe the ochre is a little bit too vague, so I'll try with some Indian yellow first, just in random places. Go straight to, I'm mixing up a neutral tint, swirling it into the green mix on my palette, simply just to avoid getting a black. Now I got it like coated in, so my plan is to glaze over it and then come back with this tool and make more scrapes. With the scrapes, I kind of remove that brush stroke things and get some hard edges. So I like those angles. And then basically just back and forth with the, maybe put in a little bit of red on these stones. But I think you may get the picture of this being like a fiddly thing right here. So maybe I should actually stop the camera here now. I am planning to try out more of this painting style, so and show it to you guys. So I think I should totally stop the camera and follow my intuition about leaving it for tomorrow, see it with fresh eyes, and paint in the details there, because right now I'm I'm just stumbling for something to say also. But what I'm trying to do is to get in some tiny strokes that reminds people of something that could actually grow in a forest, so that the imagination of your brain will fill in the gaps. But yeah, this is the finished piece. Now I will try and make an intro to hold this painting seance. Thank you so much for watching. If you watched this far, I hope that this is now I'm babbling. You know what I also could do before I let you guys go? I wanted to show you what I meant about lifting and taking off. I'm lifting off highlights from the branches and letting in some white of the paper so that I can come in with a yellow on top of that. Let me just do it on a few here so you can get what I mean, just the essence of it. And then it takes like forever. Okay, I'm just gonna show it on these few. I lift off the paint and then I decide if I should go in with either a very bright green or yellow. You could actually also not color it at all and then let the white, it's not going to be like white, but let the bright paper be the highlights. But that's what I'm going to do when I talk about the fiddling, like putting more down, taking it off to get highlights. Okay, I think I'm gonna record the intro now. So once again, thank you so much for watching along with me so far. It's been a long one, I know, but I wanted to take you guys with me on the journey of what's going on in my head when I'm painting. So I hope that give me some comments if you want more like this, or if I should totally compress it down to something that's faster and not so detailed long video. Bye bye.